Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today. If you're just stepping into a modern software engineering role, maybe as a junior developer, there's a really good chance you've already been handed a task to containerize an application. Or maybe you've been staring at a job description where Docker is listed as this huge non-negotiable requirement. And honestly, it can feel pretty overwhelming at first. But don't worry, because today, we're basically just pulling up chairs and pairing up at the same desk. We're going to break down exactly why Docker exists, the massive industry-wide problems it actually solved, and why it completely dominates the software world right now. By the time we wrap up this explainer, you are going to walk away with a rock-solid mental model of what this technology is really all about. To really wrap our heads around Docker, we first have to talk about four little words that have, quite literally, haunted developers for decades. Works on my machine. I mean, it started out as a convenient excuse, kind of morphed into an inside joke, and eventually just became the symbol for one of the absolute most expensive problems in our entire industry. You see, software doesn't just run in a vacuum, right? It relies on a very specific environment, certain language versions, specific libraries, exact configurations, and back in the day, an app that ran absolutely flawlessly on your beautifully customized, pristine laptop would suddenly crash and burn the second it was handed off to a testing server. Why? Just because that server had a slightly different environment. And that brings us to Section 1, the deployment nightmare. Moving code from a developer's laptop over to a production server used to be this terrifying, intensely manual process that completely destroyed team productivity. Teams were practically begging for a way to fix this environment mismatch, and they usually tried one of two methods, both of which totally failed. First, they'd write these massive, complex installation scripts to try and force the right environment onto the new machine. But these scripts were incredibly fragile. They'd interact unpredictably with whatever random old software was already sitting on that server. So what was the alternative? Highly detailed, step-by-step documentation, usually called runbooks. But in the real world, the exact minute a developer updated a tiny library and forgot to update the document, the whole runbook was totally useless. People would spend days, literally days, debugging just to hunt down a single mismatched version. And we have to talk about the human cost here, too. All these manual configuration errors caused a deeply toxic back and forth between teams. A developer would finish their code and hand it off. Operations would try to deploy it using those fragile scripts or outdated runbooks, and surprise, it would fail. Instantly, operations would blame the developer's code, and the developer would point the finger right back at the operations server. Works on my machine, right? This constant friction meant countless hours were completely wasted on debugging, which led to delayed releases and some unbelievably costly production incidents. Okay, let's dive into Section 2, the shipping container solution. So picture this, it's 2013. A company called .cloud releases Docker, and to fix our digital nightmare, they borrowed an absolutely brilliant analogy straight from the physical world. Think about global trade before physical shipping containers. It was a chaotic mess. Goods were constantly damaged, and loading ships took days of manual labor. But the standardized shipping container? That changed the world. Suddenly, the cranes, the trucks, the ships, the entire infrastructure to move that box became universal, completely regardless of whether it was packed with laptops or bananas. Docker took that exact concept and applied it to software. A Docker container is just a standardized unit that bundles your application together with its specific environment. The runtime, the libraries, the configuration, all into one single, highly portable package. You're no longer trying to recreate the environment from a script. The environment is just carried right along with the application itself. Moving on to Section 3, rooms versus entire houses. Now, one of the most common questions I get from junior developers is, wait, how is this actually any different from the virtual machines we were already using? Well, a virtual machine, or VM, is this incredibly heavy software-based simulation of an entire computer. It literally fakes the hardware, and crucially, it requires booting up a completely duplicate operating system kernel. That means before your application even thinks about starting, the VM is already eating up gigabytes of memory and taking minutes to boot, just to keep its own separate operating system alive. If you wanted to run 10 apps, you had to run 10 complete operating systems. It was heavy. Let's think of the difference like real estate. A virtual machine is basically like renting an entire house. You get the kitchen, the garden, the big old boiler room in the basement, even if literally all you needed was a bed to sleep in. A Docker container, on the other hand, is like renting just a single room. Because of some really clever Linux kernel features called namespaces and control groups, containers actually share the host machine's existing Linux kernel. They only bring the specific tools they actually need. They're ultra lightweight, they start in literally seconds, and you can easily fit hundreds of them on a single server where maybe only a handful of VMs would have fit. We also need to clear up the relationship between images and containers, because this trips people up all the time. Think of a Docker image as a photographic negative. It's the read-only blueprint, a perfect, frozen snapshot of your app and its environment. A Docker container, on the flip side, is the photographic print. It's the actual running instance. Docker takes your blueprint, slaps a thin writable layer on top of it, and runs it. You can print 10 identical containers from the exact same image negative, and if one of those containers completely crashes, the original negative is 100% untouched. All right, section 4, the modern developer workflow. So we've covered the why, let's shift gears to the how. Here is what your typical day-to-day workflow looks like now. Step 1, you write your code inside a local container environment. You define this using a simple Docker file, mapping your host ports right to specific internal container ports so you can test your basic web app perfectly on your local machine. Step 2, you push that code up to a shared repository. Step 3, an automated pipeline jumps in and builds a brand new Docker image from your code. And finally, step 4, that new image gets pushed to a shared registry, something like Docker Hub, where identical containers can be pulled down and deployed seamlessly anywhere. No messy manual scripts required at all. And because these containers are so beautifully lightweight and reliable, they totally empowered a brand new way of building software, which we call microservices architecture. Instead of building one massive, tangled, monolithic application that terrifies everyone whenever it needs an update, teams now break their large apps into dozens of small, independently running services. Containers are the absolute perfect natural fit for these microservices, letting teams scale specific parts of their app up and down totally effortlessly. The business impact of this? It's staggering. A recent Forrester study actually found that enterprises adopting Docker lower their infrastructure costs by an average of 66%. 66%! To put that into perspective, because containers skip the heavy, bloated operating systems of VMs, companies can run vastly more applications on the exact same server hardware. That is real money saved. But of course, once you have hundreds or thousands of containers, you really need a way to manage them. And that is exactly where Kubernetes comes in. Today, 89% of enterprises use Kubernetes. If Docker creates the individual shipping container, you can think of Kubernetes as the global shipping port. It automatically orchestrates these massive fleets of containers in the cloud, replacing them the second they fail and routing traffic flawlessly. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. According to a recent State of Application Development report, an overwhelming 92% of IT professionals rely on Docker today. 92%. It's definitely no longer just a cool trend or a nice-to-have tool for weird edge cases. It has officially cemented itself as an unavoidable foundational standard in our industry. And that stat translates directly to your career path. Docker is now a hard requirement in over 80% of back-end engineering job descriptions. And listen, hiring managers aren't just slapping that keyword on there to sound trendy. They put it there because they desperately need developers who know how to take full ownership of their containerized deployments. They want engineers who can confidently package their own environments, rather than just throwing code over the wall and blaming the operations team when things break. Finally, Section 5, your new mental model. As we wrap up our mentoring session today, I want to synthesize all of this into a really actionable mental model for you. Here are the core shifts you need to make in your head. First, stop thinking of applications as things permanently tied to a specific server. Modern apps carry their environment with them. Second, realize your laptop is not special. It is exactly the same as a production server now. Third, always think in layers and version images. And lastly, remember that these containers aren't mysterious black boxes. If something breaks, you can easily troubleshoot a container using standard logs and shell commands right from your local terminal. So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. I want you to take a simple web app you've already built, write a clean little Docker file for it, and package the whole thing into an image. Then verify it actually works by running that containerized app on two totally different machines, maybe your laptop and a friend's PC. Once you watch it run flawlessly on someone else's machine without running a single manual installation script, I promise you this mental model is going to become second nature. Are you ready to dive in? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.